minutes to order. Welcome to tonight's library board meeting. Jordine, have you taken attendance?
Yes.
All right, terrific. So first, we're going to vote ourselves into closed session for discussion of real estate. Can I get a motion to move to closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Then we're going to take a roll call vote.
All right. Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Hadley?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, move into closed session. Thanks, everyone.
We'll be back at 7 p.m.
Bringing us back into session. Jodine, have you taken attendance for a second time?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? All right, agenda is approved. Next up, we've got approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in
Or
favor?
motion. Did I do the right one? Okay, thanks.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved. Do we have any public comments, Jodine?
No public.
Okay. First up, we have the financial report with Eli.
Okay, your financial reports begins on the page marked 16 in your packet. Just to touch on a couple highlights, cash balance is $10.2 million. That's about 8 months of expenses. And our receipts so far is $21.5 million. That's 100.06% of budget. Will continue to tick up as small donations come in, as well as corrections in delinquent taxes continue to roll in. Our unrestricted fund balance is about $7.2 million as of the end of February. It's about 4.1 months of operations. Our revenues so far this year, after accrual, is $15 million. That's 68% of budget after 66.6% of the fiscal year, here 2/3 of the way through. Our expenditures are $13.1 million. That's 60% of budget after 66% of the fiscal year, where we like to be. And if you skip over to page 20, we'll just look down the year-to-date and see which ones are more or less than 66%. So state penal fines, that's at 80%. Those come in early in the year, so that's not surprising. Copier revenue running a little ahead, but that's a tiny amount of money. Library fines and fees running a little ahead as well. That's nice to see. That's mostly going to be just fees for lost items and things like that. Non-resident fees running ahead, and total, our revenue 68.3% after 66% of the year. Running down our expenditures, personnel is doing well at 61% total. Copier expense running a little hot, but again, that's a very small amount of money. Legal expense is running hot, and we'll definitely need a transfer at the end of the year, and we'll talk more about that as we get closer. Postage running hot, but that's again a very small amount of money. We'll make a small adjustment. Purchase services is running just a little bit, but that one is again spiky, where it has a couple of big purchases. So we'll see when we get closer to the end of the year if that one will need a transfer. Repairs and maintenance running just a little bit ahead, but that typically, again, is a little front-loaded. And utilities running a bit ahead, so we are anticipating we will need to transfer some more money into utilities, mostly because this is our first full year operating out of the ALF with unexpected, unknown energy consumption out there. But overall, we're at 59.8% of our expenditures, 66% of the way through the year. That puts us at $1.8 million under budget so far this year, and that's the financial report. Any questions?
Okay. Next up, we have committee reports. Oh no, executive committee is me. We did meet. We
Yes.
talked. I know we talked about some of the stuff that's been going on with the city council and
Yes.
the ballot initiatives that are officially going on the ballot in August. All of that, I think, is now, we're all up to date on all of that information. We talked about that.
Some room use things that we've been
Space
tweaking.
use, some adjustments to space use agreements. Thank you.
Yep, no, that's okay.
I had notes somewhere. Was there a third thing?
That was most of it.
Yeah, that was everything for the executive committee. Next up, budget and finance committee with Lisa.
Thank you. The Budget and Finance Committee did not meet. We did, however, participate in the process to interview some of the RFP respondents for the library audit. A recommendation was made after interviewing some candidates to approve one of those. So you'll see later on your agenda this evening, there'll be a resolution to approve that.
Great, thank you.
We also had some discussion of budget season being on the horizon and how we might approach that.
Great. And then next we have Facilities Committee.
Yep, that's me. We met on March 4th. So we had an update on the downtown facade. So we are done with exploratory work and we are planning to strap down the part of the building that was bulging and had all the issues, which should manage the risk. Yeah, I think that was the gist there. So that's well underway, so we'll keep the building safe and holding together as long as we needed to. The last invoice for the build out of the ALF was in, so that came in a little bit under budget, which was good to hear. We issued a mechanicals RFP and only got one response. Have we reposted that yet?
We have it
Closes April 4th, so hopefully we'll get more than just the one response. And as I came in today, I saw that the incubator space build-outs are looking like they're coming together. I saw the partition walls already up in the Old Friends space for sort of the artisan incubator spaces. So, and the applications as of when we met, we're planning to go up soon and.
Yeah, sometime this month.
This month, yeah. And so we'll have a 4-week period and hopefully get people in there over the summer once we choose our initial pool of folks. I'm excited to see that come together. It's looking good. I saw the individual doors and everything.
Yes.
So yeah, it'll be a nice little space. So yeah, that was everything from facilities.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have the library report with Eli.
Okay, all right, so here's our monthly report for March 2025. First, we're going to start off with our stat of the month, and what we've got to show you today is our preliminary survey results. In conjunction with Epic MRA, we did a phone poll of the library district. They reached 500 randomly sampled people. 81% of those calls were reached via cell phone, and that gives a margin of error of 4.4%. So this is a statistically valid sample across the entire district, including making sure to get a few pieces out of each township, in addition to the city itself. So I just want to touch on a couple of top lines here. We will have a presentation from Epic MRA at the next board meeting, which is on April 28th, and he'll come and present the results in full detail, as well as what are some of his insights that he saw in that data. We have a 90% approval rating of our service area. That includes 60% of the households in our district rating AADL as excellent, which is the highest that we've ever had, the excellent rating, and this is just terrific to see, and just a testament to the excellent service that our staff provide every day for all of the public and patrons who come to the library. 87% of households in the district report using AADL. That is unheard of in this industry, y'all. Just many of our most innovative and forward-looking peers, that number is in 40-50% range. So this is, now granted, this is one of those questions where people say that they use the library more than they actually use the library, but 87% of the households in the district wanted the pollster to think that they use the library, and we'll take that. 56% of the households report using AADL monthly or more. Those are our hardcore patrons, and that does match up pretty well with our own statistics. 56% of households report visiting the downtown library in the past year. Of course, as we hear sometimes from people, nobody goes to the downtown library anymore. It's too crowded. So 29% of households report attending an AADL festival or expo. We were delighted to see that. 22% of households report using AADL during a school closing or power outage. So we're seeing that role really grow. That's the first time we've asked that question, so we'll continue asking that question. We typically have surveyed every other year, and we will see how that grows over time. 75% of the households surveyed report support for housing over a library and a mix of housing. This is very similar to what we found 2 years ago when we asked this question. 73% support the upcoming ballot questions, including 45% strongly supporting them, and only 16% are in opposition to them. 72% say they would recognize the AADL logo, which is delightful to see. Take that, Coca-Cola. And then 27% report that they have AADL merch in their home. So these are the big headlines. It's great to see. And very good news all across the board. This community really loves their library, and that is thanks to all of you and all of our staff and all the hard work. And thank you to our patrons for using your library and loving your library. Any questions about any of this? All right. So upcoming events. The Friends of the Library are having their spring bag sale. That'll be out at the ALF, 265 Parkland Plaza, on Saturday, April 12th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Also at the same time, we'll have Record Store Day at the Downtown Library from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. A bunch of record vendors, as with, of course, all the record stores in town will be having their special sales. And then the next day, Sunday, April 13th, is Gardening and Farm Fest from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. That includes CSA Fair, as well as lots of people selling plants and homemade goods, and that's just a really great event. So we encourage you to come out and check out all of those. Here's a great photo from AADL in the community. AADL staff visited Bryant Pattengill and Mitchell to spend time with some of the students from the schools. Ann Arbor Rec and Ed shared this photo of Library Tech Toby Zarenko making some crafts with students. So they shared that to their social. It's a great photo. And thank you to our staff for going out and visiting with the school there. Here's another from AADL in the community. AADL hosted community partners for an Ann Arbor Art and Feminism event on March 8th. Artists and academics whose work addresses the intersection of race, gender, and sexuality kicked things off, followed by a Wikipedia edit-a-thon where participants learned how to create and update entries to give underrepresented communities like women, non-binary, trans, queer, Black, Indigenous, and people of color more representation in Wikipedia. And we got a nice write-up on that in MLive as well. Here's another ADL in the community. The AFC Ann Arbor celebrated National Reading Month with a guest story time at Westgate with AFC Ann Arbor player and children's book author Emily Eitzman reading from her book, Grandpa's Advice. Nutmeg the Squirrel was also in attendance to say hi to families and pose for photos. AADL will partner with the team later this summer for an AADL Day at an AFC Ann Arbor match. So that's coming up later this summer. Thanks to AFC Ann Arbor for their partnership. Here's a new release from AADL. Yesterday was a Trans Day of the 31st. Yes, yesterday was Trans Day of Visibility. So we released the 4th edition of our Trans Day of Visibility zine featuring contributions from staff and the community. Copies are available at all ADL locations. It's also available for download in our catalog. You can pick it up at the desk. It's going fast this year, so please, we encourage you, if you're interested in that, grab it. It turned out great. We encourage you to take a look. We had a well-attended event yesterday for Trans Day of Visibility, including the creator of Trans Day of Visibility was our featured speaker. All right, so here's new ADL releases. Fifth Avenue Studios has released the first 2 episodes in the limited podcast series Talkin' Music, celebrating 50-plus years of the Willis C. Patterson Our Own Thing Chorale. This podcast explores Ann Arbor's Our Own Thing Chorale, an instructional program through its founder, Dr. Willis C. Patterson, with interviews with past and current members spanning more than 50 years. So that's new from Fifth Avenue Studios or wherever you get your podcasts. We are very pleased to announce that the AADL Archives will receive a 2025 Government and Institution Award from the Michigan Historic Preservation Network for the Ann Arbor 200 project. The award is presented to agencies who have, by their actions, accomplished significant positive changes in the historic preservation climate and activity in the state of Michigan. So this is a wonderful honor. I'll be attending to give a talk about the project as well as the awards banquet that night. And big thanks to Norm and Eileen Tyler, big boosters of the library, who nominated the Ann Arbor 200 project to the MHPN for their consideration. We're delighted to receive that recognition. And congratulations to Andrew McLaren and everyone on the archives team for all their work on the Ann Arbor 200 project. So here's a new ADL release. We're experimenting with something a little new. There's a new free sticker vending machine down in the lobby right next to the kids' room. The sticker vending machine has been set up downtown for about a week and has been a big hit so far. A few weeks before lunch, we got a comment at the desk that AADL should make a robot sticker. So we did. Be on the lookout for the machine to pop up all across the system this spring and summer. And that is a free machine. You just push in the thing and a sticker comes out. And we are almost out of stickers already. This has been very popular, and patrons of all ages have been enjoying getting stickers for them. And none of them have gotten stuck to the walls yet. There's still time, but that has not yet happened. Okay, here's a cool thing of the month. This is something that a lot of libraries sometimes get old library books returned. We got an old library card returned. In March, a patron returned a paper Ann Arbor Public Library card issued in October 1958, which is marked "Return Card to Library from when moving from city." It was accompanied by a note, "Sorry it took so long to return. Hope there are no fines." This era of library card included a metal plate embossed with the user's 4-digit library card number that was used with some sort of a device to record an impression of which patron had checked out an item. This former patron got a nice note and some AADL goodies in the mail. So thanks to them for sending this to us. I had never seen one of these. So that was a very cool thing to see a very old library card. Here's our staff spotlight for this month. This is Amanda Zott, one of our graphic artists. She's worked here 9 years at AADL. I was a geology major long ago and worked as a landscape architect and urban planner in Santa Fe, New Mexico and Salt Lake City, Utah for about 10 years before becoming a graphic designer and joining AADL in 2015. In my work at AADL, I love working with people from all over the organization, creating designs and illustrations for events, exhibits, and environmental graphics, along with layout and design work for Fifth Avenue Press. I've been an artist my whole life, and it's a great joy to be able to apply my skills and interests in support of all AADL's fantastic programs for the community, and to work with so many smart and creative people at the same time. Outside of AADL, I've been a lecturer in the University of Michigan's graduate program in landscape architecture since 2012, and I am a regular at the Lily Park Run every Saturday. I love being outside on the local trails, and I recently brought home a new puppy, Georgia, who I am sure will be best friends with my cat, Edith. Thank you to Amanda for all of the excellent work she does for graphics and design for the library. All right, here's our mention of the month, and this is from Pioneer Robotics. It's their Team 1076 robot reveal. Now, it is a very much a done thing in the FIRST robotics community that when your robot is done, you make a flashy video of your robot and what its capabilities are for that year, and you post it to YouTube, and it's like the sort of hype video for your robot for that year. So this year, not only did Team 1076 borrow lights from the library to make their reveal very cool, it was shot out at the ALF on our practice field. So named after this type of fish, marlins can change color, lighting up their stripes just before attacking prey, which is reminiscent of the LEDs on the robot. They're also extremely fast in the water. Given this is our first year using Krakens, that's a particular speed controller that they get very excited about, and are extremely long like our 3-stage elevator. A special thank you goes to AADL for the use of their facilities and that extra loan of lighting equipment. Without you, this video wouldn't be possible. Huge thanks to our sponsors, coaches, mentors, parents, and students for supporting the team. Your contributions have made Marlin a reality. So it's been a great first year out at the ALF for the ALF practice field. It's been really trouble-free for us. The teams have really been organized and doing great work out there, and it's been just a terrific asset for all of the kids who are involved in robotics in the community. All right, so here's our compliment of the month. Passing on a day's worth of kids' room praise. I've been here 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and received only positive reactions. Folks love the magnet wall, the cowfish, and the easier-to-navigate picture books. We've been filled with people nearly all day with lots of excitement, and that's from March 2nd, 2025, shortly after the space had reopened. So that was a great comment to have. Here's our complaint of the month. I frequent the Pittsfield branch of AADL. Please explain to me why the branch displays a flag touting homosexuality and other forms of perversion. It is not the business of the library nor its administration to promote a political agenda. I urge you to take the flag down and behave as librarians and not promoters of your personal ideologies. This was received just today in complaint, I'm assuming, of the trans flag that was flying yesterday for Trans Day of Visibility. I did respond to this comment and basically said, I'm sorry that he views this as a political act, because we don't. This is in welcoming all parts of the community to our library, and this is in conjunction with AADL policy, and I thanked him for his comment. So I didn't want that to be the end, so then this came in, not an hour later. So we got a second compliment of the month. I was delighted to see the trans flag waving over the Mallett's Creek Library branch this afternoon when I stopped by to pick up a hold item. I'm a creaky old straight man, but I have trans friends and family around the country that have been facing a lot of distressing, scary news recently, and it warms my heart to see a symbol of support for all of humanity over my favorite institution, the AADL. It makes me feel proud to be a library patron. So we'll take that. And that's my report for this month. Any questions?
Maybe just a comment that I used the sticker machine on the way in, and I got a wonderful sticker from the winter game back in the day.
Oh, yes.
So highly recommend.
There's all kinds of treasures in there. Yes. Excellent. Thank you.
Great. All right. So thanks, Eli. Moving on to old business, we have an update on the rezoning and redevelopment of the downtown library.
Okay, we don't have a lot to report other than since our last meeting, we went to Planning Commission, and Planning Commission unanimously voted to forward our rezoning request to City Council. Our understanding is that after they have approved their minutes from that meeting tonight, then it will appear on the next City Council agenda. So not a week from last night, but 3 weeks from last night. It should be on the City Council agenda, but we will see. We will keep you posted, but it was very positive response, both from staff and from Planning Commission, and everyone was very positive about the possibility of redevelopment on the site. And that's about all we've got to say there.
Great. Any questions about that? Okay. Next up, we have new business, resolution to approve accounting firm Andrews Hooper Pavlik PLC to complete the library's audits for fiscal year 2025 through 2027. This is an item of discussion and action. So I'm going to read the resolution, I'm going to take a motion, and then we'll discuss. The board resolves, 1, to approve the accounting firm of Andrews Hooper Pavlik PLC, Ann Arbor, Michigan, to complete the library's audit for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2027 at the following rates. Fiscal year 2025, audit $20,925, Form 990, $1,500. Fiscal year 2026, audit $21,500, Form 990, $1,550. Fiscal year 2027 audit, $22,000, Form 990, $1,600. That all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. Can I get a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion. Who's talking?
I'm happy to talk a little bit about this in that we received responses from 5 firms. We interviewed 2, and this AHP was a clear standout in terms of their experience working with district libraries. I called a couple of their references, people I know well who are directors of similarly sized libraries. One of them is such a fan of them, they've used them for 25 years to audit their books. So it has been a really long-standing relationship. They had all the right answers for our questions and clearly had a solid understanding of what's involved with district library finances, which is, a unique corner of municipal finance. So it's very helpful to have someone with that level of experience, and they come very highly recommended from my peers in the industry.
Great.
So this was a pretty easy decision.
Any commentary from the finance committee?
I'll add to, so Aiden and I participated in both interviews. I think that the RFP was successful in terms of bringing in a nice variety of respondents. I thought, all of the firms that we interviewed did well. I would say in addition to some of the comments that have already been shared, I think some of the criteria we were listening for were responses addressing concerns around information technology and security, how communications would be handled with library staff, responsible stewardship of, budget and taxpayer dollars when it comes to selecting a firm. So, I'm satisfied that that this is a great firm to be moving forward with.
Great. All right. All those in favor of moving forward with AHP for our audits, please say yes.
Yes. Yes.
All those opposed? Motion passes, and we have a new auditor.
All right.
Thanks, everyone, for your work on that process. Okay, next up, we have a discussion of the impact of IMLS funding for AADL patrons.
So I thought we might want to take a few minutes and talk about this because it's been in the news, and it's been in the news a lot more over the past couple days. I wrote a blog post about what IMLS does that I released last week. Hopefully some of you had a chance to look at that. Want to talk about what the IMLS supports that affects AADL patrons, because we've been starting to get questions from the public. Both what might be changing at AADL and also how they can help. Which is, of course, great to hear the support from our patrons. The bottom line, as far as AADL goes, is that we don't receive any federal funding. Is that directly, we have not applied for an IMLS grant in a number of years. It was a strategic decision, mostly because we're able to do, fortunately, most of the things we want to do. And IMLS does a great job supporting organizations that can't do the things they want to do without external soft money support. So that was kind of a strategic decision. We've signed on to many people. We've written many letters of support. I've been approached by countless different IMLS-funded research projects asking for information about what we're doing here, all that kind of stuff. But the main thing that could impact our patrons is the LSTA money, which is the Library Services and Technology Act, which is a specific mandated service of IMLS that involves grants to the state libraries. The Library of Michigan then uses that money to fund various projects in conjunction with their own strategic plan and their own goals, which have to be submitted to IMLS. The biggest thing that was impacted by this is Melcat. Melcat is funded solely with LSTA money, is my understanding currently. It is operated by MCLS, the Midwest Collaborative for Library Services, which operates in Michigan and Indiana, and receives the funding that is required to operate the Melcat network from the state library using IMLS funds. MCLS also operates the MEL databases called the Michigan E-Library. That's the MEL part of it. There's about 86 databases that they subscribe for statewide services, but I'll say that those are pretty lightly used mostly by our patrons. Melcat, however, is heavily used by a small subset of our patrons. Last we looked, about 10% of our patrons have ever used Melcat. So it's not something that is heavily used, but the people who use it a lot. We typically, in any given month, I think over the year, it's about 30,000 items that we borrow and about 30,000 items that we lend out to other libraries. We have a number of staff who basically only do MEL. That is because it's time consuming. They're kind of complicated transactions because it's a miracle that it works at all. It is, literally there are 497 library systems knit together into one big catalog, and it's just amazing. It's very valuable to us as an institution because there's a lot of things that our patrons want that we don't have to buy because they're able to get it rapidly, conveniently, and reliably through the Melcat network. So at this point, when I wrote the post last week, it had been a little bit of quiet space, but just yesterday we learned that all of the IMLS staff, of which there are about 70 full-time staff, have been placed on a 90-day administrative leave, and that presumably all of their non-awarded grants will not be awarded. That's presumably. There are fights yet to be had, and there are some organizations that are gearing up and considering who the right plaintiff is, because these are mandated services, right? We'll have to find out if that matters, right? Because these are, the original executive order said, please list which of your services are mandatory and which of them are discretionary. And the IMLS board made a statement that that's like, they're all mandatory because this is defined by an act of Congress. This is not part of the executive branch. However, at the moment, nobody works at IMLS. So my understanding is that the state had received their money for this year, but I don't know for sure what the status of that is or how much or how the disbursements, what the actual status of that is. We will find out in the coming weeks what the fate is of Melcat. There is, of course, the possibility that the state could choose to fund Melcat. It's not, the entire grant for everything that the State Library of Michigan does is less than $5 million. So it is within the scope of existing state structures to conceivably choose to fund some of those projects. That will be its own political process. We'll see what happens. I would love to see Melcat continue. I think the databases are a harder sell to continue because they're much less frequently used, and in many cases they're, some cases, replicated by other services, and there's no equivalent for Melcat. So there may be advocacy yet to come in encouraging the state to continue Melcat, depending on what happens with that. We'll see what happens with lawsuits. We'll see what happens with national and local advocacy on that. This is really going to hit hardest the smaller institutions, small libraries and museums, many of which depend on IMLS dollars, either directly through IMLS grants or indirectly through the state library to fund their training, their trustee training, staff training. Many of them use some of the databases that are only supplied as their only databases. Many of them do capital projects or technology upgrades with LSTA money. And, it's like that tiny chunk of change goes a very long way for all of the rural libraries in Michigan and every other state as well. Every state in the union receives one of these grants to their state library, and that powers a lot of force multiplication on the extremely local level, mostly benefiting tiny rural institutions. So many of them are going to have to make some hard decisions in the near future. But AADL is fortunate not to be in a position where that impacts our budget directly. But if patrons are looking to figure out how they can help, And what they can do about this, of course, they can start by contacting their representatives. And every library, which is a nationwide advocacy org for libraries, has launched saveimls.org, which has a good set of steps and prepared statements and things like that you can take along there. And I would imagine once, if court cases develop, we'll have information there about that. There may be places for amicus briefs from interested libraries or library associations or state libraries. That all remains to be seen. So at the moment, there's not any information about discontinuation of Melcat, but it does not appear that the money will be continuing as of today's news, right? We'll see what happens next. But that's kind of it in a nutshell of what IMLS means for library patrons, leaving aside all the incredible good that they've done all over the years. I mean, one of the major things that we were involved with around 2010 was IMLS had a multi-million-dollar grant to the King County Library System that we were a partner on to help bring Evergreen up to the point where big libraries could use it. And here we are as an Evergreen user. And, you know, the previous time we bought an automation system, we paid about $500,000 for the initial software licensing, plus $60,000 a year in license fees. Evergreen costs us $0 and $0. And we were able to take that money and put it directly back into patron service and have a much better, more stable, more flexible system as a result. So IMLS does incredible good. It's a tiny, tiny corner of the federal budget. And it's hard to see this as anything other than about the cruelty, because this is not increasing the efficiency of anything, as is so often the case. So that's IMLS in the nutshell. Does anyone have any questions or want to make any comments about this?
One thing that struck me in your blog post, Eli, was some of the numbers. So the whole IMLS budget is $300 million, right?
Yes, that's right.
And you contrasted that, I think, to some local.
Yes, it's
budget.
basically IMLS has a smaller budget than Ann Arbor Public Schools.
Yeah.
And IMLS has fewer employees than the Ann Arbor Fire Department. You know, and we're a tiny little corner, you know, so it's just the scale of this agency is so tiny for all the good they do across the whole U.S. Any other comments or questions?
I'll just say I really appreciated that blog post. I think it was really helpful for a lot of people to contextualize what it actually means when so much is so confusing right now. I think your expertise in that area, I really appreciated the time you put into it.
And when I started looking at, you know, when I just searched my inbox for IMLS, you know, my inbox goes back pretty far, you know, so I had so many emails from over the years of all, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that and that project and that time and that strategic visioning session and that cool project and when they funded the media lab at the Chicago Library where Chance the Rapper was discovered, you know, it's just all the good that they've done across the whole U.S. over many years and the leadership that they've shown. And it's government at its best. Maybe that's the problem. Okay.
So I think, you know, you made the point that it's maybe 10% of AADL's users that are using Mel, but I just want to underscore that to lose that service would be really devastating, I think, to people who rely on it for access to information. And so, you know, for those who may not know, Mel is essentially what others might call like an interlibrary loan service. So it's a means to get library materials that aren't available at your local library. And so right now, I think if you ask yourself the question, how can I get a book or a piece of media that my local branch doesn't have or that the whole AADL system doesn't have, Mel would be a viable option for you to get it from elsewhere without having to purchase the material yourself. And I think in the absence of that service, you know, someone might argue that, well, if Mel goes away and someone needs something that AADL doesn't have, they could just buy it, right? And many people either don't have the resources to do so, or sometimes the material they want just isn't available elsewhere. So either it could be out of print, it could be unique and only have a limited number of copies available. There are some things now that are just not available even for the library to purchase. So having access to existing collections, especially for people in areas in Michigan that are not as well served as ours, is really important. And I hope that we're able to protect that valuable service.
Yeah, I would say probably half the material that travels on the Melcat network is out of print. Because, and it's for all ages, you know, you've got kids requesting book 11 in a 13-book series that hasn't been printed since 1998, right? And our copy's long since fallen apart, but it's still on the shelf somewhere, right? You've also got scholars who wanting to request a book from academic library that isn't convenient to them. It's just, it serves everybody.
Yeah. So I worked previously at the University of Michigan Library and a number of other academic libraries, and we would receive calls from all over the country, if not the world, about how do I get access to a piece of material that's in your collection. And a lot of times, one of the responses that we would give out is, well, you could talk to your local library about an interlibrary loan service. And I would say overwhelmingly, the number of people that I would discuss that with would say that their public library did not offer it, or they didn't offer it without a substantial fee. So we are really fortunate in the resources and services that are available to us here.
Yeah, I would just say as the mom of an 8-year-old that uses it, I would be bummed if that service left because they find some stuff that they're really into that is out of print or hard to get. And yeah, I think with the economy the way it is, it's like a $40 book on eBay versus being able to get it and in the system is just a very different thing. And also it helps them interact with the staff and get to know people better. And I think that's also a part of this. So yeah, I appreciate your advocacy.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Eli. All right, we have gotten to the final section of our agenda. Do we have any public comments? Okay. So with no public comments, I will adjourn tonight's meeting. Thanks, everyone.
You guys go for class?